Yeah.
That's the dive I need to go on next. The Yucatan.
The Yucatan.
I've heard that.
And in the Mexican pyramids,
we've talked about that a few times.
In the book, The Mexican Pyramid, man, I was just reading because I wanted to find out more about the pyramids and the Egyptian presence. And just lo and behold, just studying that, then I found this only part in that book was called the Moorish science of them killing the Aztec for practicing Moorish science. How did it get there? Because Moors had already been coming there prior to the Wolof being shipwrecked and amalgamating with them.
That's how you get the presence.
Yeah. But prior to that, we were going there, and then you get the shipwreck. That's a whole nother wave. So when I say that, when the Moors are saying that, hey, we've been here, we Native Americans, you got to understand that they're not positioning their argument right, because they're saying
we've been here, we're Native Americans, meaning literally Native Americans, or we're the natives to America.
The thing is the presence of Native Americans here is African, and this has been thousands of years. You get David Imhotep in the original Americans were African book. He's talking about 30,000, 50,000 years. They came here long ago from the East. But besides that, when the Moors talk about our presence here and we being Native Americans, you see the amalgamation in Florida from the slave trade or wrecked ships or us coming here or these people looking like us. And that's another way we tie in, because we had kids with them. They have a thing that the European Spanish used to come over, and they used to just fawn over the admixture of different people. And they had paintings called caste families of Native American and Africans blend, and they used to love this light skin or this Melungeon.
Well, the mulatto, during that time they would call them mulatto.
And they would make paintings out of this, and they would gander at the winsomeness of this blend that happens over hundreds and hundreds of years. So when the Moors say that we're native here, the other part of that, we're native here by sanguinity or bloodline, because we amalgamated during the wars against the Spanish. This is why you get brothers running from different European English colonies to Spanish colonies, because in the Spanish colonies, you have Roman law where you can get out of slavery. You can buy yourself out of slavery.
Well, that intermingling and that mixing in those mulattoes, Chancellor Williams talks about it in this book, The Destruction of Black Civilization.
Oh, yeah.
And Ivan Van Sertima talks about it a little bit too, but these are just some, a few books I made reference to last time, but building up that library, man, because we sit here and we had these discussions and, try to put all these puzzle pieces together to get there, and kind of like feeding them.
Yeah.
Not to swell the belly up.
Yeah.
But enough to digest it.
But
then come back.
The main point is to try to draw the Moorish link to the African American link, and to get you to understand how white supremacy came about because of different statutes like La Pianza de Sangre.
Well, don't go too far. Don't jump the gun.
Yeah.
Too far here, Fred, because I don't want to give too much of that away.
Yeah.
I just want to, before we wrap up this session, we started off where we ended in session 4. Because this is session 5, and it's probably going to be session 5 and 6 by the time it comes out.
Yeah.
But that 1492 all the way to 1609, that time, and everything that happens after.
Yeah.
And then later down the line, as we continue to go up, we get closer and closer to our footprint here in America.
And these are the breadcrumbs that we're going over. 1754, you got Eliza Willock. He's Lebanon, Connecticut. He's a teacher, educator. He's a so-called white guy. He wants to teach Native Americans, so he opened up a school. He named the school the Moorish Charity School. It's called Dartmouth College today. But he's teaching Native Americans, but he calls it the Moorish Charity School. You can Google it. It'll come up in your Wikipedia, and it tells you that today
it's considered Ivy League school now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But he called it the Moorish School because at that point, when you look at books like the Delaware Forgotten Folks, they couldn't tell the difference between a Moor or so-called African or Negro and a Native American. They even had a song called, and this the long title, is I don't care what you call him, Native American, he still looks like a nigger to me. So it gives you the physiognomy or the skin tone of these people at one point that they couldn't tell the direction of. So 1754, you have him teaching the Indians, quote unquote, at the Moorish charity school, where he teaches them like they taught in Cordova, astrology, mathematica, astronomy, different things that was
algebra,
considered, that was considered Moorish science in Spain, in the Yucatan and Cortez. You see this golden thread running through everything that we're talking about. You know, everything that we're talking about, it all links back to our experience here. And you can call it whatever you want to call it, but I'm not trying to convince people that they're Moors. I'm saying that you can't get up where you didn't fall at. So our history here links directly back to Spain because those politics come here, but we fell under the guise of being Moors. Now, when you go to Colombia, I've been to Spain, they call it Moriscos, Moro, Moreno. In Puerto Rico, they have a Puerto Rican Day parade in Puerto Rico where they give homage to the Moors. It was on CNN, the special last year. With the
so different ways of saying the same thing.
Same thing. And in Cuba, they have a dish called black beans and white rice. They call it the Moros and the Cristianos. And they call it that because of the Moors and the Christian battles, the whites and the blacks battle. But it's a dish there. So you see that in Cuba. You see it in Brazil. You see this same thread running through
the presence
of Northwest,
the influence
of North Africa, Northwest Africa. Now, when you say God, Son, in Russia, that's why I said the baptismal records are very important, because that was another way you got out of slavery under Spanish rulership or under Spanish plantation slavery. To marry and become a godfather or godparent or godson or goddaughter to a Christian. That was another way of getting out. So when people say that you could get out of slavery being a Christian, you need to know what type of slavery they were in. It was under Spanish rule. It wasn't under Britain, because there was perpetual slavery going on.
Oh, you started talking about Britain.
That's harsh.
Yeah.
There was things that brothers didn't understand, like
well, that ties all the way into the Caribbean influence.
Yeah.
That Britain, the colonization.
And Hubert Harrison, when he came here before
British
Garvey,
colonization. When
Hubert Harrison got here and Garvey looked up to Hubert Harrison, he came here, he didn't understand this type of slavery because he came from the Caribbean. He was like, well, this is not, because under Roman law, which Spain was under, it was a different type. You can get out of slavery. You can buy yourself out of slavery. You can marry out of slavery. You can become a Christian. The Wolof tribe are the Maroons, who my dad is bloodline, and his mom are Maroon and a part of the Wolof tribe. They ran away from slavery into the jungles.
Oh, they fought.
And they went isolated. You know what I'm saying?
They fought until...
And they spent bread to defeat them. Now, when people caught that L over here in the Bahamas and Haiti, they couldn't let it stop because it would have sent a bad message. So they kept fighting. And some of the Wolof or the Maroon would go into the jungles and set up shop.
Well, that's two things. I didn't mean to cut you off, Fred, but just because it's in my head. Got to do a session on the Maroons, got to do a session on Haiti. Yeah. And really do the deep dives on the independence of Haiti and what was going on and fighting for their independence. But I didn't want us to go too deep. I want you to give us some little bit of homework for next week. Yeah. And thinking about what this next session is going to be.
Well, we're dropping breadcrumbs to Noble Drew Ali in the Moorish Science Temple.
That's the build-up.
If we cannot deal with this part, you're not going to understand what Noble Drew Ali was saying. Hey, come all ye Asiatics, hear the truth about your birthright. You're not Negroes, black, or colored, you're Moors.
That's the homework.
That's the homework. And before we leave off from that, it's a book called Africans and Native Americans. If you get this book, as soon as you open up, just go to chapter 3 and start reading. You can go work your way back up.
African
and Native Americans by Jack Forbes. Jack Forbes is an Indian, quote unquote. And in the book, the name of the chapter is Negroes, Moors, Natives, Red Men, Black Men. These are all interchangeable terms for the people that look the same.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, once again, I'm Equality.
I'm Freddie Jones, aka Mu'sab Yasir Bey.
Hey, it's always a pleasure, Brother Fred, man. It's always a way to exchange knowledge, man. Back in the day, we say, like having a cipher, man. Yeah. Just having a good old-fashioned cipher. Brought out the book. Man, I had to break out the books. Had a book sitting up, man. I hadn't touched in like 20 years, man. And just from doing this show, it made me grab this book.
And you knocking off dust on here, my books, because there are a lot of books But two books I want to leave because I like to leave with sources. We got to have some sources. But two books in particular, you have Prince Among Slaves and The Fortunate Slave. I had a professor who was from West Africa. He told me to get The Fortunate Slave. That's where you'll see these people were called Moors, and they were in slavery for 40 years, and when they found out they was Muslims, they would release them from slavery because of the deal that they had with Morocco. And we need to talk about how big Morocco was when we go into Noble Drew Ali.
If you're watching this on YouTube, man, hey, y'all, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. This is Gentleman's History Hour.